Yep. All right. We should be live and good to go.
All right. Thank you very much, Mark. I'm going to call this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Cavan-Monaghan to order this Thursday, August 22nd. We have one item of official business to deal with. But first, I'm going to read the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Cavan-Monaghan is located on the Treaty 20 Michi-Saagiig territory in the traditional territory of the Michi-Saagiig Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to First Nations for their care for and teachings about these lands. May we honor those teachings. Next, I would ask for declarations of any pecuniary interests or conflict of interest from any of the members of the committee.
None for me.
All right, none for me either. Thank you. The next item is the minutes from the last meeting, which was July 4. Is there any, are there any questions or comments regarding those minutes from the members of the committee?
Not me. I don't have any either.
All right, then I would ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
We can do that.
Dave, second.
Can second that?
Thank you. All in favor? Those minutes are accepted. Next, we move on to the actual reason we're here, and that is a minor variance application number MV 0724 regarding 14 Scout Crescent. And I would pass it over to Matt to discuss this.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Simple and members of the committee. Mr. Chair, through you, today we are discussing minor variance application MV 07-24. The variance is required to reduce the southern interior side yard setback and increase the maximum amount of lot coverage on the property to permit the proposed development of a single detached dwelling at 14 Scout Crescent. This application deals with a site within a residential community that is constrained by wetland and watercourse on one side, a sloping hillside on another, and two converging drainage courses entering the property. The applicants have been working on plans and reports since 2021 after they took possession of the site. And I have been to the site a handful of times over the years and seen the concept change to fit within these constraints. Before you today is Planning Report PEB 2024-43. The report makes the recommendations that the Committee of Adjustment review and consider all verbal and written comments received regarding this application, and that the committee approved application MV-07-24 with the condition that the proposed development of the property occur within the accordance of the submitted site plan, the engineered lot grading and drainage plans, the tree planting plan, the recommendations of the environmental impact study as approved by the Township of Cavan-Monaghan, and the applicant obtained a site alteration permit from the Township of Cavan-Monaghan prior to any development on site. However, after drafting the report, I have received comments from Autonomy Conservation who are requiring changes to the grading plan. As these changes are being considered minor, I'd like to change the recommendations to read that the Committee of Adjustment review and consider all verbal and written comments received regarding this application, and that the Committee of Adjustment approve application MV-07-24 with the condition that the proposed development of the property occur in concordance with a site plan and engineered lot grading and drainage plans, tree planting plan, and the recommendations of the environmental impact study as approved by the Township of Cavan-Monaghan. The applicant obtain a site alteration permit from the Township of Cavan-Monaghan prior to any development on site, and that a third one, the applicant obtained a permit amendment from Autonomy Conservation to include any additional excavation, grading, and fill placement on site. This change is intended to provide some flexibility to the plans and reports and allow the changes to satisfy the Conservation Authority and the Township. The owner of the property wishes to develop the vacant lot and construct a new 407.2 square meter, 4,383.2 square foot single detached dwelling on the subject property. The area of the development includes the dwelling, an attached garage, and front and rear covered porches. The proposed dwelling will be located 9 meters or 29.5 feet from the southern interior lot line, 30 meters from the front lot line, 30 meters from the wetland and watercourse features to the east, and the septic system, being the farthest to the rear, is proposed to be 12.3 meters or 40 feet from the rear lot line. I'd like to address an error I made in the report. The frontage of the property should read 130 meters, not 30 meters. However, this error does not have any impact on the application. The submitted site plan is provided as attachment number 3 to the report. The property is zoned natural linkage and natural core, as is shown on map E2 to bylaw number 2018-58 as amended. The natural linkage and natural core zones do permit a single detached dwelling, provided that an environmental impact study demonstrates that there is no alternative and the proposal is directed away from the feature to the maximum extent possible. The impact of the proposal on the feature and its functions is minimized to the maximum extent possible, and the proposal is not located in a floodplain or erosion hazard. The applicant has submitted engineered lot grading and drainage plans for review of the Township of Cavan for review by the Township Public Works Department, and their staff has been satisfied that the submitted plans demonstrate that the lot will be developed so that the normal overland drainage will not impact the neighboring properties. The lot grading and drainage plans were provided as attachments 4 and 5 to the report. However, as I mentioned earlier, comments from Autonomy Conservation require a redesign of the swales to convey the combined 100-year flows within the swales off the property. As such, the updated grading plan is required by Autonomy Conservation. For clarity, Cavan Monaghan staff review for normal conditions, whereas Orca is looking at flooding conditions. So luckily, we both look at it. The applicant has also submitted a tree planting plan in support of the application. Township staff have reviewed the document and found the plan aligns with the recommendations of the EIS. The majority of the trees will be planted along the southern interior lot line that abuts 23 Scout Crescent, and the tree planting plan was provided as attachment number 6 to the report. The applicant submitted an environmental impact study in support of the application. An area was identified in the EIS for development which is outside the hydrologic features. The EIS demonstrated that any impact to the features and its function will be minimized, provided the mitigations and recommendations are followed. The environmental study was reviewed and approved by Autonomy Conservation at the time of the sale of the property, and a permit for development was issued by that agency prior to the minor variance application being submitted. However, the imported fill and the grading on the site was not part of the permit. As such, Autonomy Conservation is requiring an amendment to the permit to include any additional excavation, grading, and fill placement on the property. The EIS was provided as attachment number 7 to the report. The purpose of the minor variance is to increase the maximum amount of lot coverage from 2% to 2.6% and reduce the southern interior side yard setback from 15 meters or 49 feet to 9 meters, being 29.5 feet, to permit the construction of a single detached dwelling on the property. All other regulations of the natural linkage and natural core zones will still apply to the property. Notice of the minor variance application was circulated by first-class prepaid mail to all assessed persons within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject property, and to all required ministries and agencies. A sign was also posted on the Scout Crescent frontage of the property. Since the drafting of the reports, township staff have received 2 phone calls and 1 emails from the public. All 3 persons are abutting neighbors to the subject property who commented with concerns with local drainage patterns, sought clarity regarding the extent of the development, and inquired if any more development were being planned on the site. None of them objected to the proposal. I did manage to speak to 2 of the people who called and informed them that engineered lot grading and drainage plans had been submitted in support of the application, and that directed overland flows and drainage swales at the east and south sides of the property are going to be in place to minimize impact to neighboring properties. I pointed out that the total footprint of the development includes the attached garage and the 2 covered porches. I confirmed that the proposed increase in lot coverage excludes any more development on the property without additional Planning Act applications, and that the EIS concluded that the remaining property did not have a suitable envelope. One of the members of the public who called followed up with a written statement, which I will now point out what she wrote. The owner of 36 Deer Ave has lived there for the past 11 years and shares the eastern lot line with the subject property. Her property is at the top of the hill and has witnessed winter runoff and heavy rains on her property and the surrounding neighborhood. The owner shared 2 videos that showed the water runoff across her rear lawn and onto 14 Scout Crescent. As 14 Scout Crescent is downhill from her, she is concerned that the filling of the site without ample water diversion will cause a backup of water on her property, damaging more trees and or her house. 14 Scout Crescent has been flooded many times, she told me. The owner is also concerned with the health and the number of trees on the property. Earlier this year, the owners of 14 Scout cleared the building envelope in accordance with the EIS of all vegetation on the trees and the trees on her property were damaged as part of the Derecho windstorm. While she is planning to replant some additional trees on her property, she is asking that the planting plan be updated to include some additional hardwoods to add the privacy between the 2 lots. The planting plan currently includes 1 pine tree and 4 cedars in the southwest corner of the lot that abuts her property. An email was also received by the clerk's department yesterday afternoon from the owners of 23 Scout Crescent, which asked 4 questions that I replied to in an email. They asked, how will the water runoff from 14 Scout affect their home after it is built? I provided them with a link to the township website to view the grading and other plans and explained that the grading plan includes 2 drainage swales that have been engineered and reviewed by both the Township Public Works and Otonabee Conservation, and that a revised grading plan has been requested by Otonabee Conservation to provide additional capacity. They also asked if their septic system would be impacted by the build. After checking with the Township Building Department, I confirmed that the minimum distance for a structure from a structure to a septic weeping bed is 5 meters. The proposed house will be 9 meters from the lot line, and it'll be even further than that to their septic. I also mentioned that the zoning at 23 Scout permits development up to 6 meters to the side yard line without planning approvals. So while the Township Building Department have reviewed the septic permit, a full septic review is still going to be completed after the approval of the minor variance. Finally, they asked if the house is being built. They also asked if there's going to be any impact to their well. As part of this application, a well review is not required. Finally, they asked if the house is being built in the wettest part of the property, or is it because Orca said it had to go there? The completed environmental report identified that a suitable building envelope would be outside the hydrologic features, but the report has reviewed for compliance with Orca and provincial policy, and so this is the best place on the site for it to go. And that is all public information. Notice from the application was also circulated to Township Department directors. The Township Building and Fire Department staff have no objection to the proposed variance. The Township Public Works Department have reviewed the lot grading and drainage plan and are satisfied with the plans demonstrate that the lot will be developed in a manner that it will not impact the neighboring properties. Due to the large amount of fill being brought on site, a site alteration permit in accordance with the control of dumping and of fill and alteration of grades bylaw 2020-19 is required from the Public Works Department. Hiawatha First Nations did provide comment. The comment requested clarification regarding the status of the wetland and whether a stage 1 archaeological study should be completed. The comment also noted that traditional materials, medicines, and food staples are on site. Township staff reached out by phone and followed up by email to Hiawatha First Nations to discuss their comments. However, I did not receive a reply. Available information in the environmental report show that the wetland described as non-identified and therefore not provincially significant. The wetland and watercourse, as identified in the environmental report, is outside the recommended building envelope, and as such, further investigation to the wetland status was not requested. An archaeological study was not requested, as the lot is not in close proximity to a known archaeological site. The site is an existing lot of record, and as the last site to be developed in an established subdivision, where there is no other information as to the sites being found any archaeological materials. However, the Committee of Adjustment may wish to make that a completion of the stage 1 archaeological study a condition of the minor variance approval. After drafting the report, Township staff received comment from Otonabee Region Conservation Authority. Otonabee Conservation staff are satisfied that the proposed development plans submitted as part of the application are consistent with the recommendations outlined in the EIS and Otonabee Conservation's comments made May 2nd, 2022. Therefore, the proposed development is located outside the known hazards and is of the opinion of Otonabee Conservation that the application is consistent with section 3.1 of the provincial policy plan referencing natural hazards. Under Ontario Regulations 686-21, provincial policies dictate that the development shall not create or aggravate existing natural hazards. Ottawa Conservation has reviewed this application through their mandated responsibility and are satisfied that the two culverts combined will convey the 100-year storm flows. However, the grass swale does not provide sufficient capacity to convey the 100-year flows without affecting the adjacent properties. They would like to see a redesign, they require a redesign of the swales to provide capacity for the combined 100-year flows. Autonomy conservation mapping indicates that the lands are subject to ORCA's development regulation, and a new ORCA permit, an amendment to the ORCA permit to carry out construction of a new dwelling, driveway, and septic system were issued on April 4th to 2024. However, a permit amendment is required to include any additional excavation, grading, and fill placement on the property. Planning review. The Planning Act provides tests that must be satisfied to support a minor variance application. These tests are as follows. Does the minor variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the official plan? The subject lands are designated natural linkage and natural core in the Township of Cavan-Monaghan official plan. The objective of these designations is to prohibit development or site alteration within key natural heritage features and key hydrologic features, and preserve and maintain environmental features and functions of a 30-meter vegetation protection buffer. A single detached dwelling and residential accessory uses are permitted in the natural core and natural linkage designation on existing lots of record if it is demonstrated that there is no alternative and the establishment is directed away from the feature to the maximum extent possible. The applicant has provided a site plan, tree planting plan, engineered lot grading, and drainage plans, which show that the site development will occur out within the specified building envelope in accordance with the recommendations of the environmental study. The proposed variance maintains the general intent and purpose of the township official plan. Number 2, does the minor variance maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? The property is zoned natural linkage and natural core, as shown on map E2 to the bylaw number 2018-58 as amended. Stemming from the requirements of the designation of the natural linkage and natural core zones, the zones permit a single detached dwelling unit, provided the environmental impact study demonstrates that the development is in a suitable location. As noted above, the application is supported by environmental study, site plan, tree planting plan, and engineered lot grading and drainage plans, showing the site development will occur within the building specified envelope in accordance with the recommendations of the environmental study. Yes, the minor variance maintains the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Number 3, is the proposed use desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land? The subject property is located at the end of a cul-de-sac on Scout Crescent. The subject property is located within a residential community. The property is zoned and designated to permit the proposed residential use. The proposed setback to the southern interior lot line abutting 23 Scout will be 9 meters or 29.5 feet. And the planting plan shows that this lot line will be planted with a row of approximately 25 cedar trees and graded with a swale to prevent lot drainage from entering the neighboring site. In contrast, the neighboring site is zoned rural residential and is permitted to develop up to 6 meters or 19.6 feet from the same interior lot line. The site is required to be developed as per the grading plan to the satisfaction of a township and ORCA staff to ensure that the site grading will not impact neighboring lots. So yes, the proposed use is an appropriate development and use of the land. Number 4, is the variance considered minor? The application is requesting an increase to the maximum lot coverage from 2 to 2.6% and reduce the southern interior setback 15 meters to 9 meters. The majority of the neighboring properties are zoned rural residential, and the rural residential zone does permit a maximum lot coverage of 35% and a 6-meter interior sidebar setback. As the variances are relatively small and the development has provided information demonstrating that it will not impact the neighboring properties, the application is considered minor in nature. After hearing public comments and considering all written submissions, the committee has the following options. Number 1, approve the minor variance with no conditions. 2, approve the minor variance with conditions. 3, defer the minor variance for further consideration at a later date. Or 4, reject the minor variance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. Now, I would ask for any questions from members of the committee first. Are there any from any members of the committee?
had a couple of questions, Chairman Temple. Just for clarification, was it stated that 14 Scout Crescent will be the last property that's developed in that on Scout Crescent?
You, Committee Member Glover, through you, Chairman Simmel. Yes, the surrounding lots, so 14 Scout previously was shown as being 3 lots. Through legalities, it was, whether that was a mistake or they combined them to be 1 lot. So there's 1 now large lot on site, but the surrounding lots have been developed, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I was just wondering on the property owner at number 36 is what happened to the request to plant more trees at the southeast corner of the of 14?
Through you, Committee Grant, your Chair Semple, the tree planting plan. So to answer your question quickly, nothing has been changed or affected the planting plan. The planting plan was developed by the applicant as per the recommendations of the environmental study. The tree request, the additional tree request from 36 Deer, her request was primarily for privacy. So previously there was a forested area, and so through the development, all those trees are now gone. I don't know if 14 Scout is planning to plant any more, but the tree planting plan was developed in accordance with the recommendations of the EIS. So no changes have been made to that report.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I just had one other quick question too. So the zoning on the subject property is the natural linkage and natural core. Some of the surrounding properties you mentioned were residential zoning. These proposed developments on the subject property would comply with the residential zoning if it was residential as opposed to natural core and natural linkage.
That's right. If it were rural residential, then we wouldn't need a minor variance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
No, not for me.
All right.
No,
I just have one. I don't know if it's a question or a comment, but I live on Deer Avenue myself. I do know Scout Crescent, and it's heavily treed right now in there. So I don't know that trees are a major concern. Were they concerned for any of the other neighbors?
We did have report from neighbors when the trees were cut down. They're not required to tell the township that they were cutting them down. They did stay within the building envelope. There is a erosion silt fence around the perimeter of the development envelope, and so they have stayed within that area, and they cut them down outside the tree, outside the bird breeding window. So that's why they did it early as opposed to waiting for now, which they wouldn't be in accordance with provincial policy to do that, or provincial regulation actually. So if this was a residential, this is a lot of record, but is allowed to be permitted to be developed.
Thank you very much, Matt. I should clarify, yes, I am on Deer Avenue, but I do not abut 14 Crescent. So there's no interest or conflict from my part. I'm actually on the other side of Deer Avenue, and 36 is across from me, I think. Anyway, any other questions or comments arising from the committee?
No.
Thank you. Then I would ask for any questions or comments from members of the public who may be participating today. Are there any?
So there are a couple of members of the public as attendees right now. If anybody wants to comment on the application, can you please raise your hand and I'll promote you. And when you start speaking, can you please mention your name and your address? Chair Semple, there are a couple people in the gallery. Would you like us to promote them to talk?
If they wish to speak, yes.
No problem. I'm promoting Alex Ronco first. It might take a second. There you are promoted as a panelist, Alex Ronco. If you want to speak, you can go ahead.
Not seeing the person there.
It appears that members of the public do not wish to intervene in this, and we don't see an indication that they do, Chair, so you
All
can
right.
proceed.
Okay, so they're just here to observe, basically, then?
Yes, that is our belief. Neither of them has raised their hand or indicated.
Thank you.
I joined the panelist list.
And who was that?
Sorry, this is Alex Bronco. I tried to speak there for a minute, but it wouldn't let me do it.
Oh, do you want to speak now, or do you have any questions?
I just wanted to say that I'm 23 Scout Crescent. I'm directly beside. So yes, the talking about the trees, it was an abundance of trees, like it was a forest. So it's affected us greatly, our neighbors greatly with the opening. We can now see over to Larmer Line, lights and all. So it's, I mean, I know it's going to happen that they're going to build, which is fine, but we don't want to, we're not okay with the minor variance. We'd like to keep it as it is. Just because everything's going to be so close. We moved out here to have a little bit of privacy, and now we're going to have absolutely none, as it is directly beside. I'm going to see this great big house right out my window. We are concerned about all the water, because of the way it like when in the spring or whatever. Our neighbors showed us videos from before we even lived here, and we are just, yeah, we don't want things to go wrong with our well, our septic. My husband had another question, but he's not feeling well. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to say a little bit of my piece, and we're welcoming, but we're going to say no to the minor variance if that has anything to do with anything. Thank you for letting me have some speak time.
All right. Do you have any response to that, Matt, regarding her concerns?
You, Chairman Simple, the water drainage on the site was a major consideration for the township when this application came forward. I'm familiar with the site and sort of how it's been draining. So a big concern for me was the lock grading and drainage plan and making sure that that was part of this application. The applicant has submitted an engineered lock grading and drainage plan that will, when amended, be able to convey all so there's two drainage points that are coming in, one from 36 Deer and one that's more across 23 Scout. And so when those two storms, or a storm that hits on those two drainage points, the water will be conveyed around the building at 14 Scout, and the one along the eastern boundary will disperse through the forest and get to the wetland on the south side. And then the southern one will enter two different culverts to underneath the applicant's driveway and disperse slowly into the wetland there and carry on as normal. So there should not be any backwater effect. The drainage has been a consideration as part of this. So hope, you know, barring maintenance and the rest of it, we can be confident that the grading and drainage plan will work as per the engineers. The trees, as part of this plan, there is 25 cedar trees being proposed to be planted along the abutting lot line between 23 and 14 Scout Crescent. Hopefully that will provide some coverage, some privacy, so that they don't see along the line anymore. And the I'm sorry, I can't remember the third point. Oh, that it's going to be close. So the new house, yes, the driveway will be closer, but the house itself will still be 50 feet or 9 meters back from the lot line. So I'm not sure what the separation is from 23 to the neighboring on their side. But I know in a subdivision setting, this isn't this is still a fair distance, I would say, why it was considered minor in nature.
Thank you, Matt. Are there any other questions from the committee or members of the public arising out of that?
Me.
No.
Aaron? No, okay.
To you, Chair Semple. Just in case there are any technical difficulties on their end, we're going to promote the other attendee. It'll take about 30 seconds. And
Okay.
if they wish to chime in, they can. I believe they are the representative for the property owner.
The applicant?
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So they are being promoted right now. Yes, Molly Conlon, you can speak if you so desire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Molly Conlon. I'm the applicant on here. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer, but I feel Matt really described everything well.
Yeah, you are the applicant,
Yeah.
the owner of the property?
No, I'm just the applicant. I'm not the owner.
Oh, you represent the applicant.
Yes.
Thank you. Right. All right. But you had nothing to add at this point?
No.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public, or was that it?
No, I believe that's it, Chair Semple.
All right. Then I would ask for a motion one way or another, whether we're going to approve this application with or without amendments. And there was an amendment, and I don't know that it's in the written one that we're looking at, an amendment suggested by Matt. So that may have to be incorporated into it as well. If you could clarify what you were changing and what we're looking at, Matt, that would help.
Yes, so the change is the wording, simply put, is the proposed development of the property occur in accordance with a submitted site plan or a site plan, a lot grading and drainage plan, and taking out those and adding a to still say that these plans will be a condition, and then adding a third condition that they obtain a permit amendment from Autonomy Conservation.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So I would ask for a motion from the committee as to approving with or without amendments as indicated by Matt.
Chairman Semple, I'll motion to approve the minor variance with the 3 amended conditions.
Thank you, Aaron. And second, David, thank you. And I would ask for a vote. All in favor of the application with the amendments? And the application is approved. Thank you very much, everyone. That being the end of our business for today, I'd like to thank the members of the public that did participate for their input. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn at this point. Thank you, Dave. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Oh.
Thank you.